Hi, welcome back to another episode and welcome back to my channel. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And if you're here for the first time, my name is Nelly, and in this channel, I share content on personal, professional and career growth topics and job strategy topics to help you with the information, or rather the knowledge that you need to build a career that is more fulfilling. So my aim is to help you build a rewarding and fulfilling careers. So welcome back to my channel. And guys, in today's video, I want to have a conversation on some of the ways, or rather some of the things that you can do if you are constantly being rejected, or if you constantly never make it beyond the initial stages of an interview. So the initial stages of an interview could include having going through a phone interview, Skype interview, or a first level interview. And the reason I'm doing this content is because I encounter many people, or people who follow me on LinkedIn. I see so many people commenting on my post and saying that they never make it beyond the first level interview. So the moment that you get invited to an interview, it actually means that you qualify for the job, or it means that even if you don't qualify 100%, but you have the basic things that the employer or the recruiter is looking for. So what really happens between the time that you get shortlisted and the time that you get to the interview, and where exactly do you miss it in the first level interview? So my topic for today is how you need to handle, or what you need to do if you get eliminated in the initial stages of a job interview. So to start this video, I think it's quite important to get to understand what are some of the reasons that make people, or that will make you get eliminated in the first level interview, or in the initial stages of an interview process, even if you're qualified for the job. So one of the main things that will make you be eliminated, or will get you eliminated, is when the recruiter or the interviewers realize that you are not fit for the company's culture. And how would somebody tell that you're not fit for the company's culture, or how is it even their business? One of the things that an interview is actually testing, apart from the technical competency and technical fit for the job, is culture fit, which is highly valued by many employers. So of course, there are interview questions that will bring out the aspect of cultural fit. And once a recruiter or a potential employer tells that you will not fit within the culture, then it can automatically kick you out, even if you're qualified for the job. Another thing that can make you be kicked out, or rather that it can disqualify you in the first level interview, even if you're technically fit for the job, is when you actually bring out aspects of desperation. I have talked about desperation severally when doing a job search. And one of my advice to candidates, or rather to job seekers, is that you should never ever show that you're desperate for the job. I understand the situations that actually surround somebody when you're looking for a job, the factors that surround you when you're looking for a job. There's the need to get the job, there's the need to meet your financial obligations because you're looking for a source of income, but really it does not justify, or it does not qualify to make you look desperate. So the moment an employer tells that you're desperate for the job, if you show an aspect of desperation, you can highly be qualified. So then it means next time you're going for an interview, instead of desperation, please try to show your value. Because I always tell people that employment is a transactional relationship, where an employer is looking for somebody to help them achieve a mission, a vision, an objective for the business. And you're also looking for a place where you will be paid for the skills that you bring into that place. So it is transactional, in that the two parties bring something to each other. So when you're going for an interview, you should not look desperate for the job, but rather you should display the value, the qualities, and the skills that will convince the potential employer, that you're actually the person that they are looking for to help them deliver the value for their business. Another thing that can make you be disqualified is when you only focus on the benefits. Guys, please don't throw stones at me, but I understand that we are looking for a job to get the benefits, to get the income, to get the money, but let it not come out as the only drive. This might sound dishonest, this might sound funny or weird, because we're really looking for a job for the money. But like I said, you are somebody who's looking for a place to offer their services, to offer value, to get paid. So there's no need to put benefits part first. It doesn't mean that you should not ask about the pay. It doesn't mean that you should not ask about the salary and the other benefits of the job. But all it means is that even though these questions are very important, and I highly encourage you to ask questions about benefits, they should not be coming first. They should not supersede other conversations of the interview. And I think that's why even in an interview, you'll find that a recruiter will be asking you questions about salary expectations at the end of the conversation. So it's quite important that you get to understand how you're going to show value, how you're going to prioritize other important questions that will show your enthusiasm, that will show your interest, that will show your need and desire to join the company beyond the compensation, or rather beyond the benefit that the job comes with. The next one is misalignment. If your experience is misaligned with what they're looking for, let me tell you how this happens. Even though you had been shortlisted because your CV or your resume actually convinced whoever was shortlisting, or actually met the requirements of AI or other applicant tracking systems. But I know there's a way you can design your CV, because the golden rule is that you're being told when you're applying for a job, it's important that you align your CV to the job description. That only helps you to get to shortlisting, or rather helps you to get to the interview, which is a good thing. But should your CV fail to match what you're saying, or should what you're saying fail to match the CV, you stand a higher chances of being disqualified, and you stand a higher chances of exposing yourself as having been dishonest. So even at the point that you're making your resume and you're aligning it to the JDE, I always tell people it's quite important that you ensure that you align it to the aspects of the job description, or the requirements of the job description that actually reflects your real experience. So there's an aspect of being very honest when updating your CV. Don't get into an interview room and the recruiter or the interviewers will tell that the CV does not match the person. So you need to be ensured that everything that you can defend, or you can justify everything that you put down in your resume, every qualification that you put down in your resume, every experience that you put down in your resume, every skill, every expertise, you should be able to justify that in an interview. The next thing that can make you get disqualified, or rather that can make you get eliminated, is when you lack industry specific experience. And here I want to speak more specifically about if you lack experience in the industry specific systems or applications maybe that are being used in that organization. So you find that nowadays, of course, most companies have embraced technology, and there are different systems that people use, and different industries will have industry specific systems that they use. If you go to manufacturing, it may not be the same. It might not be the same as another industry, maybe transport, maybe communications, maybe whatever industry, that beauty, you find that they will have different, at some point, there are different systems that are being used. And if it is not an entry-level job, guys, it may not be easy, especially if there's someone who's also being interviewed who is well versed with the systems that the organization is using. So if you go to an organization that uses a system that you have no prior experience, that will automatically mean that you're being trained for some time to use that system. You stand a higher chances of being eliminated, especially if there's a competitor, somebody that you're competing with in that interview, who's well versed with that industry, who's well versed with the system, who's well versed with the processes within that industry. So that really matters. That is really a key factor. And of course, this does not discourage you from really applying for those jobs in different industries or require a system that you have no exposure. But I always say that it is quite important that even if you do not have advanced experience in using that system, if you do not have if you're not well versed using that system or that industry, but at least you have the basics, or at least you have a minimum prior exposure with that system, with that industry. So that makes it easy. But if it's an entry-level job, it's perfectly okay, because we all understand that if it's an entry-level job, there are higher chances that you've never ever interacted with that system. There are high chances that you've never ever worked in that industry. And of course, the employer will be willing to train on the job. So with that information, then let's get to the next step of this conversation, is now then with all this understanding of the things that could make you get eliminated. It's quite important now that you understand then what is it that you need to do. You know, you're already experienced, you've already been called for the interview, which for me is a very important step in job search, the moment you just get to the interview. So then how do you defend yourself? How do you come out? How do you get hired or just get recommended at the first level interview, whether it is through whether it is a phone interview, whether it is Skype, whether it is Zoom, whether it is a physical, whatever type of interview it is, as long as it is the initial conversation, initial interaction with the recruiter or the potential employer. So here is what you need to do. The first thing you need to do is that you need to be more relevant. And you need to only pick what is relevant to the job. Let me give you an example. If you're somebody who is having a long list of experiences, or if you're somebody who have experience in different industries, let's say if you're interviewing maybe in manufacturing industry, and you've been in manufacturing, you've been in service industry, you've been in different industries, and even previously you've been in the same manufacturing, and that is what you're interviewing for. So when I say focus more on what is relevant, I mean that focus more on the experience that is relevant to that job. I see so many people present very nice resumes that get them to interviews, which is a good thing. But the resume is crowded with all the experiences that you have. So when you're doing a specific job application, you may not need all the experiences, but rather you may need to focus on the experience, the skills, the qualifications, and the achievements that are relevant. So if you've achieved so much in life, which is a good thing, even outside work, especially when the job is very specific, you may not need to include all those achievements, all those experiences, but to include what is more specific and what is more relevant to the job. So when doing your application, it's quite important that you check your experience that aligns with what is required in the job description. And that only is not enough. Focus on what is it that is more relevant to the employer. What is it that is a priority? Then that is what you need to include, and that is what you need to begin speaking about in the job interview. The next tip you need to practice is to understand your audience and give them what they want. So your audience in this case is the interview panel. So when you're going for an interview, you need to understand who are the interview panel. So once you know them, you need to actually, even when you get to the interview, the first process of creating a rapport is, of course, getting to understand what they like. So once you've researched about your panel, and I always tell people there's no harm in just, once you've been invited for the interview, just getting to know who the panel will be. And I think I get people ask that a lot, who will be the panel in that interview? And once you tell them, you may not necessarily mention them, just to tell them the designation, they understand the profile of the panelist. So once you get to understand your audience and get to know what they like, or rather get to know the level where they are, then you can be able to design your conversation to match their level of understanding. So knowing your audience is quite important. And when you know your audience, you'll actually be able to answer in a way that you know will please them. For instance, if you're told that you're going for an interview, and let's say maybe you're going to meet the CEO, you're going to meet the board of directors, you're going to meet whoever is it that you're going to meet at different levels, you will agree with me that the level of engagement and the level of interaction will be different. The same way, if you're going for an interview and maybe you're told you're going to meet the hiring manager and maybe the HR officer, the level of engagement will extremely be different. So once you understand your audience, you will understand the level of engagement, you will understand their level, and of course, you will understand the right language to use that will make you be liked, or rather, that will resonate more with your audience. The next tip is to start with the hook or the punchline. So I know you're wondering, what is a punchline, especially in the event of an interview. So this more or less apply to getting to talk about things that are relevant, but now the punchline is, you know, when you look at the job description, it is very specific on exactly what it wants. So look at that job description and use the exact words in terms of describing your experiences and your achievement. So once somebody, if you're able to mention the relevant words that were in the job description, then it automatically tells the panel that you understand what you're talking about. It automatically brings the aspect of you knowing what is required of the job and you understanding the job. So also speak about the job by bringing out the most important aspect and the priorities for the job. So for example, maybe if you're, let me say if you're being hired maybe for an accountant job, one of the priorities for this job maybe is like a CPA. So when you're talking about your qualifications, you can't fail to say that you are a CPA. If one of the priorities for the job maybe was a master's degree, if you have it, you can't talk about your qualifications without mentioning a master's degree. If it was a degree, you can't finish introducing yourself before saying that you have a degree. So the punchline, what is the punchline in that job description? If they were looking for 3 years of experience, when introducing yourself, you'll say, my name is so and so, I have 3 years of experience in this industry. If they were looking for somebody who had run a certain process, you have to mention it in your introduction. If they were looking for someone with experience in Excel and other maybe data analysis tools, you have to mention that and be very specific in the tools that were in the job description. So that is what I mean when I'm talking about the punchline. So you can't fail to mention what they're looking for in your introduction. So to give a strong punchline, at least pick a handful of the most priorities for the job in terms of experience, the skills that they want, number of years of experience, and maybe qualifications, and ensure that you mention them in your introduction. So the next tip, which is the last tip for this video, is that you need to use the panelist or your audience language. So here is an example. You know, each and every industry has their language. Each and every industry has their acronyms. You may assume that an acronym, maybe like an acronym in your industry, means the same in another industry, while it might mean different. So please avoid mentioning words or statements in short forms. Avoid things like DEO, DEI, whatever it is. Please mention things in full. So avoid using acronyms, because you may think that you're using an acronym that means the same thing, which may not necessarily mean the same thing to the panel due to the difference in the industry jargons. So understand, you need to use the right language, which is more relevant, and you need to understand industry specific language. So that way you will be able to connect more with the panelists. You'll be able to connect more, because the main thing really is being able to connect. You know, at the end of the day, an interview is done by a human being, and we want to connect. We want to see people who are like us, people who understand our language. So in terms of the things that I talked about, like culture fit, these are the aspects that they will be actually checking all through. And things like culture fit can actually be assessed or can actually be derived easily through how you manage your conversation, through the words that you say, through how you respond to questions. So they want to see, are your responses like the people that they are having in the organization? Are your responses displaying a personality that can fit within the organization? Do you speak like somebody who can survive, or rather somebody who can cope in their environment? So that is really what an employer, or rather an interviewer, will be looking for. And if you can be able to speak their language, if you can be able to read their mind, create a rapport, if you can be able to actually just set the tone for a good and fun conversation, there are very low chances that you'll be eliminated from a first level interview. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope these have shed more lights. Please, I would like to hear your feedback. Just continue this conversation in the comment section. And if you've not subscribed, ensure that you subscribe. Put on that notification bell so that you're notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.